Spider-Man games, there have been many, let's be honest, and the consensus is that the games are underwhelming, forgettable at best and disappointments at worst. So when I happened upon this game on social media, I didn't take too much notice of it. Getting excited over a Spider-Man game to me seemed akin to anticipating another Madden release. It seemed redundant, a game that simply existed because a lucrative franchise demanded it. But in the tiny snippets I saw of the game, I saw promise. So much that I began denying myself trailers out of a desire to save as much of the experience as I could for a first-hand viewing. I wanted to play it now, and I wanted it to be fresh, but even I could see the hype surrounding the title in spite of my self-imposed media blackout. And I won't tease you, I'll say it right off the bat. I think the game deserves it. In the first 15 seconds of swinging through New York, I knew this game was something special. Immediately swinging was thrilling. I found myself laughing as I held onto the webbing until the absolute apex of a swing, whipping off the tip into the air, soaring downward, and then waiting until the absolute last second to shoot out another rope. In most open world games, travel can seem as almost a sort of tax, a tedious necessity between you and your next goal. But this game makes it fun, and it should be no other way. Even when fast travel became unlocked, I found myself ignoring it. As you begin to understand and apply the nuances to traveling effectively, it becomes extremely satisfying to traverse the buildings without making an error as you smoothly move from objective to objective. You will occasionally, frustratingly, become stuck on things or find yourself leaping in a direction you didn't desire. But this is minutia compared to the rest of the experience, especially when you play with care and don't simply mash buttons. The combat is tight as well. You will occasionally find yourself or enemies in awkward situations where it is frustrating to strike them, but this is rare. The controls superficially are very simple, but mashing the attack button will only get you so far, and the game rewards a well-rounded playstyle. Mixing in combos, jumps, dodges, finishers, web shots, and gadgets make for fast-paced and enjoyable encounters. On spectacular difficulty, this varied playstyle is a necessity, because while I would not consider the game too hard, it can be very punishing to reckless play. One goon can deal half your health in a few shots, but this isn't a bad thing. Even though the simplest encounter can be trying, if you don't respect your enemies, it creates a sense of gratification when you make things go smoothly. As well, your combat skills can be augmented as you level up through the purchase of various upgrades, suits, gadgets, and 3 ability trees, all of which can be upgraded to suit your playstyle. The visuals are crisp and the environments are vibrant. Spider-Man himself looks as iconic and as sharp as ever. My one gripe visually is the faces during cutscenes. While not horrible, I didn't care for the rough look of the models. They were honestly a bit ugly to me. Hair and skin textures had a bit of an uncanny valley effect to them. That said, I don't think it is anything to get hung up on, especially when the dialogue is so well delivered and the core of the game is its combat. As well, the lip syncing and animation in general seemed on point. From an audio standpoint, everything is in order, from the swelling scores which are in the same vein as an MCU score, to the various web shooter sounds, to the immensely satisfying sounds of Spidey bringing all kinds of punishment to his enemies. Voice acting, as I mentioned earlier, is on point as well. With the proper setup, I think you should be immensely impressed. As far as the story and atmosphere are concerned, it was tailor-made for a Spider-Man fanboy. References to various villains and characters are everywhere, from billboards to subtle name-dropping to branding on crates. I won't get into specifics out of respect for anyone who has yet to pick up the game, but I will say this. There is a particularly awesome segment of the game involving a costume party. I was tickled pink by the references and imagery, particularly as a huge fan of the 90s cartoon. As well, I did appreciate that this Spider-Man chose to be its own thing, and is not connected to the MCU. The game seems to be a return to form, with many beloved characters making appearances. It even seems almost as if it is a spiritual successor to the 90s animated series. One thing that I am particularly grateful for is the fact that Peter is finally out of high school. I understand why young Spider-Man works, and it is appealing. His unwavering optimism and his boyish innocence complements a teenage hero, but cinematically he has been in high school for the past 15 years. And now he's finally on his own. He's finally his own man. He's finally embraced his identity as Spider-Man. He's finally making his own tech, and he's finally socking the absolute shit out of villains, all the while quipping characteristically. My one complaint is the somewhat puzzling inclusion of some rather honestly boring sequences where you see the story from other vantage points. Sure, some of them do deepen your attachment to the characters and actually serve a point, but some seem particularly needless. I care about Peter Parker as well, but I can experience mundane tasks in my own life. I don't need a game for it. These sequences are an extremely small part of the game, but I honestly felt like they were in my way at times, keeping me from getting back to the action, and not to mention them amidst all of my gushing would not be fair. All in all, I'm really pleased with the game and simply how fun it is. It is an experience, in my opinion, that is worthy of one of the greatest superhero legacies of all time. If you're the owner of a PS4 as well as a Spider-Man fan, this is absolutely a game you need to play. Like I've said, the game is not without issues, but those issues are so small and so forgettable in light of the rest of the game that I would not worry about them. In conclusion, between passing, renting, and buying, I rate this game a buy. I hope you found my review helpful and informative. As always, if you did like the video and you would like to support me, the best way to do that on YouTube is by subscribing for more content as well as liking the video. If you have any feedback for me, whether it's how I can improve my videos or a game you'd like to see played, please leave a comment below for me to read. Also, keep an eye out for my Shadow of the Tomb Raider review next week, as well as a continuation of my Hitman Blood Money series. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon with more content.